Hi, welcome to Marc Evans Coaching. You know, we're at that favorite time of year for me in cycling because I can work a lot on my technique, and I can have athletes who don't mind doing rollers use the rollers to enhance their functional technique. And it's perhaps one of the best ways to improve your cycling, especially during the 2, 3, 4 months, in some cases longer, 5 months of when we're moving indoors on our training. You know, one of the things that Marc Evans Coaching is about, in fact probably the most important thing, is that you need to move better functionally. Your stability, joint mobility, flexibility, all playing a role in how well you execute movement or can sustain movement. A lot of athletes are focused on the intensity, and the volume of training, the density, the frequency of training. And my belief and what I've seen is that the more we focus on technique and mobility and stability, the greater the improvements can be. And those should be a regular part of your training plan, of your workouts. And coaches would be wise to have you have regular musculoskeletal or movement and stability assessments to help you individually be more efficient and stable. Group workouts are not individually assessed, whether it's through a core training or a TRX class or any types of group formats where you haven't had the assessment. Keep that in mind, that over time that we are going to see methods and ways, and here's a plug, my new book, Triathletes in Motion, coming out next June, something I've been working on for almost 10 years, will have self-assessments and remedies that you can do, your coach can do, to help you identify what's weak, unstable, where the joints are not moving effectively, and flexibility. You combine those two things with technique, and I believe that's one of the key aspects to performance. You know, when you look at the winners, those people at the top of their game, whether it be at the Ironman or the ITU, the differences between first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place, to me, are in movement and stability. And those that seem to make it to the top, most of the time, are the most efficient looking athletes. And it's easy to see, like if you look at the first place finisher and the 10th place finisher, a lot of times those differences are in how they move functionally. And so I would recommend that you think about that. But part of the rollers training is that it continually focuses on brain to muscle. You have to pay attention here. On trainers or stationary bikes, that's not the case. It's really a focus on intensity. And all of the community classes that I do in teaching and swimming technique and group cycling technique, we focus a lot on technique and economy. And rollers training is just one of those. So I'll go ahead and just do a workout here, or a few minutes of a workout, give you an example of what, you know, rollers training can be like, and how simple it can be too if you take the time to learn it. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Need to get a couple of miles an hour going, and I'll just be pedaling along with my left leg here. Going to shift into a little bit easier gear so I can get the wheels spinning. And you just need a couple of miles an hour to get your balance, or you can hold on to a wall, or be in a hallway or something like that. But for me, I can just get going 2 miles an hour, coast, balance, and then I'm clipped in. Get yourself kind of stable and oriented. You know, I don't normally look up at a camera, so whenever I do, I'm going to oftentimes shift off balance. But if I think about my stroke and my pedal and the direction of travel, keeping my knee, center of my knee joint over the second toe, the pressure on my foot pad is equal from the inside of the foot to the outside of the foot, then I'm not going to shift as much. I'm not going to lose balance as much. Go ahead and get the momentum going here just a little bit. You can pretty much do everything on rollers that you can do outside. The only thing you're not getting is the inclination of a long climb or something like that. We do a lot of single leg spins where the left leg is just dominating. Right now I'm just totally dominating all the power through the left leg, and the right leg is unweighted. There's no force on the right. Do thousands of those kinds of techniques. Now I'm going to be pedaling normal. So just to give you an example, I can actually slow down to almost barely moving at all. But as long as I'm keeping my knee line and my foot pad pressure and focusing on the downstroke, you know, I can go down to almost no speed at all. As long as I'm keeping things moving in a forward and downward way, which is the downstroke, tail end of the overstroke, and the downstroke. And that's the dominant point of power production when you're pedaling, is that downstroke. The end of the overstroke as you're coming over the top, pushing down and through with a center line of the knee, center joint of the knee over the second toe. That's where you want to keep your pressure. If you are angling, there's two things that I really like to point out is people are told to keep their knees in towards the top tube. And if you think about that, or try squatting, for example, if you were to invert your knee while you had a couple 100 kilograms on your back, you wouldn't be as stable. The same thing, opposite is true, as if you have your knees to the outside. You're not going to be able to have as much stability. The most stable posture and position is center knee right over that second toe. Now, some have weaknesses or instability in the foot and ankle, the adductors and the upper leg, or quite often weak glutes, particularly glute medius, which can prevent you from doing that. But still, if you're training those things through the outside assessments and then working on techniques simultaneously, you're going to have a better outcome. The second thing that, as far as pedaling goes, is that, as I mentioned, the downstroke is really the key. And you don't want to be forcefully pulling back. There's an old technique tip where you even hear it today. I read it in a very popular magazine the other day, triathlon magazine, where they were talking about pulling back and pulling up on the stroke. And there are several studies, many studies, that say that if you're pulling up, I'm pulling up on the right leg right here, that's during the downstroke on the left. And the downstroke is over 95% of your power. So therefore, if you're pulling up, you're actually just diminishing the amount of power that you can apply to the left. What you want is more transitions. We work those aspects, the backstroke, the upstroke, and overstroke, but they're just transitional phases. Key is to make sure your knee, your foot, the arch of your foot is stable, the foot pad pressure is even, and you're really keying on the downstroke, working from this hip to extend the leg. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just show you that you can do a lot of things on the rollers that are so much different than a trainer. For example, I could come up and stand, and I'm getting that same kind of feeling of being out on the road that you're getting, that you don't get otherwise. And I'm constantly having to reorient myself to pay attention to that knee and second toe line and maintaining the arch in my foot. And these are things that, with all the sophisticated bike fitting and technology, that they often don't pay attention to or assess. And those assessments and fits are great. And the data capturing capacity is fantastic, because you can come back and well, of course, it's only as good as where they place the dots to begin with. But the thing is that you need to combine those with your movement and stability training and technique training. And then, after a certain number of hours of training, go back and get refitted and reevaluated on your movement. But as I was saying, you can pretty much come to a coast here, real nice and easy, as long as that knee line and arch remain neutral. If there are some asymmetries, medial, lateral, your foot pressures are not the same, you're going to have a little trouble. So you can learn a lot from rollers training. I'm Marc Evans. We'll see you next time. Please go ahead and check us out on Facebook if you're not already there, or the Marc Evans Coaching YouTube channel, which is, thanks to all of you, it's one of the most, if not the most, subscribed to channel on YouTube for coaching and technique. Really appreciate it. Have a great year.